Good evening. When we talk about the concept of Kollel in Atlanta, Georgia, we must recognize and appreciate Rabbi Ilan Feldman. Marabe'atra. The rabbi of Congregation Beth Jacob. Rabbi Feldman had the vision to make Atlanta a city where people can grow at all levels in their Torah knowledge. It was 28 years ago when Rabbi Feldman was instrumental in bringing a young group of men who we know as the Atlanta Scholars Kollel. And through their teaching have transformed our city. It is this transformation which Kollel Ner Hamizrach is building on. It is my pleasure to introduce Rabbi Ilan Feldman.
Those who've heard me speak before know that I don't speak from notes. I've only spoken once in 25 years from notes, and tonight will be the second time. And I do so for two reasons. One is that the historical nature of the occasion requires that every word be precise and measured. And secondly, because you will have hard evidence that when people speak in the name of Torah, they speak with one voice, they say the same thing. There's no division, there's no separation. And so you will hear things that have been said already that I knew would be echoed by what I said without ever having heard or coordinated a single word with any of the speakers. B'shush the Rosh Yeshiva, whose presence in our city is a wonderful kavod for our city, and Rishus Harav Shmuel Chashchaman, whose knowledge of Torah in its breadth and depth is something we should never take for granted in this city, and who is a trusted friend and colleague, and Rishus Harav Cohen, who in his short time here has demonstrated to us all what the nobility and majesty of Torah looks like. Mazel tov to all involved in the new Ner Hamizrach Kollel. This is a remarkable milestone in the life of our community, and a spectacular one that speaks volumes about the maturity and growth of the Ner Hamizrach community, and indeed, of our broader community. It is also a reflection of the tremendous leadership of Rav Shmuel Chashchaman, whose dream it is for his community to grow in the ways of Torah and in its reach to the members of Edot HaMizrach. I want to use my time here to take a step back to provide some perspective on this development, because there are few people here who can fully appreciate the development of Ner HaMizrach community as much as I can, perhaps with the exception of my father Shlita, who's not here, but who certainly has the perspective that one needs in order to appreciate what's happening here. I've been in Atlanta a long time, and even without Hamodia, that's ad-libbed. I have memories almost no one else does. When the Shah of Iran fell and Iran went into chaos, a variety of manifestations of Hashgacha Pratis ended up putting Atlanta in the position to absorb many Iranian children. It was a remarkable thing, a relatively undeveloped community with very few frum Jews, very little infrastructure, absorbing kids from Iran, followed later by their parents. Families in our community adopted kids from another culture and language and raised them side by side with their own. Why was this community Zocha? Because as small as it was already imbued with the notion that all Jews deserve love and caring. There was never a question of whether it will be done, or how it would be done, or whether we could do it, Jews were in need, of course, we would take care of them. From the beginning, certain issues were very important. One, minhag is important and should be treasured and preserved. That is why our shul hosted a special minyan for Iranians. They met in our shul for several years, rent-free. When they finally left to meet in their own place, it was with the guidance of my father that they did so, others as well. And he also insisted that they hire a Rav for themselves. My father, in his wisdom, knew it could and would thrive, and it would never thrive as a vassal state inside Beth Jacob. It should therefore come as no surprise that we celebrate this as the maturation of a child that we feel we literally raised as our own. No greater result could be realized than for a kehillah to be developing and supporting its own Talmidei Chachamim, and also providing resources to enrich the Talmud Torah of ever more Helik Yidden. Translates in Hebrew as Yehudim Kedoshim. As a Rav who's seen many phases of the growth of Atlanta's community, and who is the second generation Rav serving this community, I want to remind everyone of the values that make this community work, and indeed make it exceptional. Following these guidelines is what got us here, and we have a glorious future if we continue to maintain these guidelines. By glorious future, I mean a future which continues to add to Kvod Shemayim, to the glory of God, and to no one else's. They are so much a part of this community that, like the air we breathe, I fear that some may not give them thought until they're missing. And so I state them now. 1, we are incomplete if we ignore those who aren't Shomrei Torah and Mitzvahs. No one can be left behind. We do not forget those who have less than us spiritually. We even sacrifice our own spiritual comfort in order to share Yiddishkeit with others who don't get it. This is not called outreach. This is called Ahavas Yisrael and Ahavas Klal Yisrael. 2, there is coordinated, thoughtful, and planned growth. We are building a kehillah, not a school, not a mikveh, not an eruv, not a kollel. The organizations support each other, and indeed can't exist without each other. Most importantly, as we build, we consult with Gedolei Torah. Nothing is done without consultation. That is why the Rosh Yeshiva are with us tonight, and they are with us even when they are not here physically. 3, progress happens over time as the community becomes ready. We don't impose shock and awe standards of behavior on the community. We wait until we've created a demand for the next level, and Chachma is used when we move forward. 4, Talmud Torah is the underpinning of everything, and the only way things will progress. That is why in 1987, when the Atlanta Scholars Kollel started, my first condition was that it be a Scholars Kollel, not a OK Atlanta Outreach Kollel, but Atlanta Scholars Kollel. 5, B'nai Torah, Talmidei Chachamim, are the jewel in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's crown. There can never be enough of them. One day, when the Frum community finally gets it, we'll close all Pesach hotels, cruises, Rocky Mountain vacations, expensive destination weddings, and support more B'nai Torah than we are now. Let no one... There's a State of the Union address going on right now. And its success is measured by how many times he's interrupted by applause. That was not in the script either. Let no one in Atlanta ever say that B'nai Torah are a burden on our community. 6, to get to that Mashiach-type ideal, B'nai Torah must demonstrate superior, extraordinary levels of honesty, integrity, midos, tznius, shalom bayis, and pursuit of shalom. Average levels in these areas won't do. Only exceptional levels will do. The Shekhinah requires a Klal Yisrael, a tzibur, that is defined by the most elevated behavior, especially shalom. Torah leadership has got to be beyond reproach in all aspects of behavior, exemplifying what the Torah creates and inviting the Shekhinah into our lives, making Shem Shamayim Nehav al Yodecha, beloved through our actions. I cannot overstate the level of Kiddush Hashem it is to see Harav Kohn and his B'nai Torah and how they conduct themselves day to day. It is a schus for our community to have you here. As our community becomes more sophisticated, things become complex. We must make sure we never lose sight of these things. If we hold on to them, one thing is certain. The growth of our community will be greater than anything we can anticipate, and more Jewish lives will be saved. The stakes are tremendous. And this really is the perfect introduction for Rabbeinu Harav Hagon Rav Kollel Shlita. His is a family that lives for Torah, that has exemplified the essence of shalom, that has presided over the spectacular development of a Makom Torah, because all they cared about was Kavod Shemayim, and look what happened. It's our honor to welcome Moreinu Rabbeinu Rav Hagon Shiva Rav Kollel Shlita.